Chief? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of May 2nd, 2018. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Before we start our regular meeting, we will start with our adoption of the 2018-19 town budget.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt the town budget of 2018-2019 as appropriated as Schedule A, operating $50,616,915. Schedule B, capital, including in operating $100,000. Schedule C, enterprise, $5,797,603.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? I will speak for all of us and say that this, as it is every year, an immense amount of work. Hats off to the administrator, treasurer, and department heads for an excellent presentation to us. Hats off to my colleagues for the efforts and energy that they put in, and then everybody else that was involved in this budget. I know that we take this quite seriously, and no tax increase is what we're all hoping for. But when we do a tax increase, we do it with thoughtfulness. We take the time, effort, and energy to make sure that every penny that we're looking to spend is appropriate. So nice job, everyone. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Before, again, we start our regular meeting, we have an announcement. I believe Candace Panza is here. Yes, there she is right there. Candy, if you don't mind coming up and sharing some really wonderful news and the success that you found on something you've been working on for a long time.
Yes, it is. I'm very happy to be here this evening to bring you some good news. I know you've seen me as good news, okay. Senator Reid has announced that the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has awarded money to a few housing authorities across the United States to manage VASH vouchers. Those are Veterans Affairs Supportive Vouchers. These vouchers are for veterans coming back who are basically homeless for whatever reason. Either they left, they gave up an apartment or a house, or and they need housing. So these vouchers will help support them in different communities in rental apartments and will help pay their rent, much like our current voucher program, but these are definitely targeted to the veterans, and the Veterans Administration will be doing this along with the housing authorities, involved. We're very happy to announce that the Bristol Housing Authority has been one of the very few authorities to receive these veterans vouchers. And it's thanks in part to a few people. First of all, the Town Council for your letters of support, which was great, and also because we are a high-performing housing authority. And it's such an honor. We always have a mission to help people, low-income people, with housing costs. At Benjamin Church Manor, it's the senior population, and with our voucher program, it's the disabled and the families. And our mission is always to try to provide affordable housing. So when we heard about this coming up, we decided we wanted to apply, and we hope that the town would be in agreement, and definitely the town council was in agreement to this. I think it's wonderful to be able to help some veterans in this town to come back and have a place to live and establish themselves here. The Housing Authority infuses about $1 million or more in rental payments to landlords in this town every single year. And this will just add to that. Benjamin Church Manor is 48 years young this year. Hard to believe, but yes, it is. And so I'd like to say, when someone asks you, as a resident of this town, what are those buildings on Hope and Chestnut Street? Because we're really not sure. Are they condos or the apartments? No, that's our housing for the elderly, and we're proud of it. There is no I in team. I have a team of workers. They're just fantastic, and they have the heart and the soul to help people, and that's really, about the size of it, and they're very, very talented people, too. So, but a special thank you to Julianne Garno, who is our Section 8 coordinator, who helped put this application together along with myself, and she was the one, she really wanted to have to do it because this was going to be part of her job, and she was totally 100% in favor of it. So I will say a job well done to my staff, as usual, and thank you for all of you, to you for your support. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations. I think this is terrific news, and it's a win for everybody because it
It
also
is.
frees up, maybe potentially another voucher for a family.
Right.
But I'm just curious if it's attached to the program, or I'm assuming it would be done, the wraparound services that these veterans will need in terms of the VA, counseling, other things that's potential. Is that
Right.
a part of this program?
Absolutely, and the best part of it is that the Veterans Administration will actually, the people that want to apply for this veterans will go to the Veterans Administration, and they will be sending those people down to us, and we will be issuing the vouchers and overseeing that whole process for them here. But if there's any issues, or they need counseling, or they need help with anything at all, the Veterans Administration will be there for them, as well as the Housing Authority, but mostly the Veterans Administration. And that's the beauty part of this program, is we're not out there alone. We don't know a lot about the services for veterans, but they're going to be working with the Veterans Administration, and it's just, I think it's going to be a win-win situation. We currently house 4 veterans in town that come from other housing authorities that have veterans vouchers. So we know it works, we love the program, and as you say, it's a win-win situation for the men and women who served in the military.
And I think that's terrific because we have such a good Bristol Veterans Council and other veterans organizations that they can
Absolutely.
get involved with and linked with as well. Very
Right.
good. Thank you. So I'm glad it
Absolutely.
starts there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Kenny,
sir.
I think you were a bit humble, too. This was not a short-term process. This is,
No.
you've been working on this for, and Julie's been working on this for a couple of years.
Right.
And as Councilman Perrella just mentioned, I mean, what a perfect place to have it happen. We have the Veterans Home here.
Right.
We consider ourselves, because we are, the most patriotic town in America.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and what better place than
Right,
here?
absolutely. We were hoping between the Housing Authority's performance, the backup of the town, but also the fact that the Veterans Home is here, right in town, and they're very supportive too, transportation and things like that. So, again, it's a win-win situation, and again, proud to be able to help the veterans in our town of Bristol.
Well,
Yes.
certainly, like you said, high-performing and being noticed to get that under your leadership for many years, but as a team, and we're just happy to be part of it as a town, as a
Thank
council,
you.
as a community, to always strive to do better for veterans and everybody in our
Sure.
community. So I'm just very proud and
Absolutely.
happy that we accomplished this.
Well, Senator Reid, I have to say, is wonderful when it comes to housing. He's really, whether he's a Democrat or Republican, an independent or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. He is forefront with the housing situation, and for us, that's big. And I have a lot of respect for him, and felt
Agreed.
that it was just a wonderful thing for us too.
We still just got to work with him, as we mentioned in the past, on that last phase. I'm sure he could be of some assistance.
I was also excited to hear it also provides counseling management, too, for
Yes.
veterans. We know they go through quite a bit,
Absolutely.
and obviously they should be.
And that plays into it because we've seen it. We do have some here, but the Veterans Administration has come a long way. I mean, they were always there for veterans, but I think in the past few years have really ramped it up. And we pick up the phone. We have an issue. We know there's an issue. A landlord will call us. We call them, and they're right on it.
Yeah.
Right on it. So they're there for all of the veterans, be it mental health, physical health, money, anything at all. They're there for them, which is great. It really
Excellent.
is. So
Exciting.
it is. It is. We're hoping to get more, maybe some time down the line too, but we'll
Well,
see.
nice job.
Thank
People
you very
of Bristol
much.
say thank you for what you did.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So we had a presentation listed here, but that'll actually be at our next council meeting on the 23rd. So, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, the first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
The
Thank
next
you.
submission of minutes of previous meetings, items A, 1, 2, and 3.
Motion to approve?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is a public hearing. This has to do with the request of Samuel Glynn Toasted Bun Hospitality LLC, doing business as Statesman Tavern, 31 State Street. Request council consideration for the transfer of the Class BV intoxicating beverage license to Christopher Clayla of the same company and same DBA. You have several objections to the license transfer, and also the recommendations of the town administrator, fire chief, and chief of police. This is an advertised public hearing.
So as the clerk said, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Please. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Christopher Clayla. I live at 10 State Street in Warren, Rhode Island. I opened up Statesman Tavern with Sam Glynn 2 years ago. Today is actually happens to be our 2-year anniversary on this very day, which is very fitting.
You planned that, didn't you?
That I'm here in front of you guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Everyone has been very kind and wholehearted with the transfer of all this. It's been a lot of work, and I appreciate everyone working with this for us. So I'm from East Providence, EP03, URI07, and Sam and I have been working on this project for a long time. And he actually is expecting a baby girl and recently moved to Florida. So,
good for them.
Yeah, it's great. So I am looking to get these several permits licenses through to kind of seal the deal with Sam and myself and move on. We have no anticipated major changes. We're still going to maintain the same atmosphere, same menu, offering buyouts for particular weddings and whatever the case may be in Bristol, and I believe that's all I have.
Tell us what a buyout is.
That's when we have certain blocks. A Friday night in July for Bristol, Rhode Island is a hot ticket. So in order for us to really afford to close the doors, you'd have to spend X amount of money to just so you wouldn't be dining with other guests. You'd have it's a 45-seat restaurant. You'd have that to yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
that is all.
So,
You had a question. Please,
I
stay.
just had a quick question. And the money that is owed to Horizon Beverage, is that just routine, it just hasn't been paid yet?
That
Or-
is, I actually handed it's about I think it's $240 that is from past a few months ago that needs to be squared with them. I do not know who this Gregory Mancini is. However, I have been talking with Rhode Island Distributing on a weekly basis to square that up.
There's two here. One is Horizon Beverage Company for $831 and Rhode Island Distributing. I know some of it is just
That
they want that all squared away, and usually
Yeah,
that's
and
not
I'm
an
not-
issue. I'm just curious because you've been in the same business.
Yeah, it's a good question. The reason logistically why that works is because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the liquor license transfer would remain the same liquor license, but for me to do business,
You have to
when
clear
this
this up.
goes through,
Right.
it requires certain distributors to basically treat me as a new account. And in order to close an account, you have to have a zero balance.
Got it.
I am in much conversation with those. I believe that is I believe that's the same company. Is it two? Do you have it on there as two different ones, Horizon and RI Distributing?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure, just to double check.
Yeah.
Because usually it's somebody who's not like the partner buying out the other partner.
Right,
And that,
right.
could signify some jeopardy.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you an unofficial question not related to this business, but what's happening with Chomps then?
Sam has put a couple good managers in place, industry guys. He's got a great chef over there, and
So
he's
he's
going to be
keeping-
remotely operating it from
Okay.
Florida. He's done it for a few weeks already, actually.
Okay, thank you. So you live on State Street and your business is on State
Yeah,
Street. Two different towns. I thought
I
that
don't.
was
The
that was
stars seem to be
interesting.
aligning for me this
Yeah.
week. I actually recently moved there too.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
But as the councilwoman had mentioned, when we do these liquor transfers, usually it's contingent on, with those objections from those vendors, that gets taken care of. So
Yes,
would you
sir.
have any objections to that?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
that's very much on the list. I actually don't have those numbers. If I could get those numbers from you.
You can take it.
Good.
I
Do
don't
you mind
get-
if I approach?
Sure, no. This is what came in from the Sinope law.
And it's funny, this particular vendor, no one else has said anything about that besides.
They can't hear you at home.
No,
that's
yeah,
why.
okay. Well, that's
And some of the
that's
people in back
important.
can't hear you, actually. So,
But thank you.
is there any other questions?
No,
Or
Councilman
comments?
Stewart answered it for me.
Perfect.
So usually if we do this, we don't, we'll approve it, but it's going to be contingent before you can come in and get the new license, that all this is paid off and they've given you those releases or whatever the clerk
Okay.
requires.
Typically, Mr. Chairman, what would happen is that as soon as he satisfies the requirement of that particular debt, then that same company that reported to us will send us a message saying that they no longer object.
Excellent.
Once we receive that, then we can issue.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have
welcome.
any questions for us?
Yeah, I do. Where does that leave us in the process here?
So right now, we're in the public hearing portion
Okay.
of it. So what will happen is that I'm going to ask for more positive comments, and then
Okay.
I will ask for negative comments if they exist.
Okay.
And then we will close the public hearing. We will vote on whether or not we want to transfer the license, and then we'll take the next steps. You are on the agenda again for a couple of other
Yes,
things,
sir.
including victualling. So,
Excellent.
And that'll all happen this evening.
Yeah, and thanks a lot. If anyone's ever been into Statesman Tavern or knows anything about us, it's a real mom and pop shop, and I very truly thank anyone that's ever been part of the process. Thanks.
Well, certainly with the relationship, as you had mentioned, that you partnered with Mr. Glenn, so it's almost like we're having the same owner. So it's a relationship with our town, our residents, visitors, and our police department for a record that
Very much
is
so.
positive. So.
Very much so. Yeah.
Almost. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the...
One more time.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Is there anyone to speak against? We have a process, don't we? So, please.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV liquor license contingent upon the debt being paid of $881.74.
And all, and
And all
And-
debts.
All debts.
All debts,
it's like tax debts, et cetera, all things.
everything. That gets so
Perfect.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I think we'll be talking about a minute or so.
The next item is item C1. This is the second reading for adoption of ordinance 2018-04. This increases the tipping fees for yard waste from 2 cents to 2.5 cents.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2018-4, Chapter 11.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Actually, I have a quick question. I know that we've moved a lot of these adjustments to fees out of our ordinances and into...
This one's a sewer one.
Gotcha.
It's not a DPW one.
Thank you. That's the clarity I needed. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item C2. This is also the second reading for adoption. This is to prevent overnight parking on the State Street dock.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption.
Second, also, the proper signage will be addressed for this new ordinance? Okay.
Any other questions? There's a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item C3, this is ordinance 2018-07. This is to prohibit parking at all, parking on one side, it's unfortunately, the west side of King Philip Avenue from Division Street to Narrows Road.
Motion, this constitutes the first reading?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And item C4, also King Philip Avenue. This is ordinance 2018-08. This is to prohibit parking on the west side of King Philip Avenue from Sunrise Drive to Dyer Street.
Motion,
to
this...
that- Go ahead.
Motion is constitutes the first reading.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Point of clarification. These ordinances seem very, very similar because they are. The rationale behind having two of these was, this is obviously King Philip. There was discussion about how much we wanted to create as no parking or consider as no parking. So that's why we have two ordinances here. So at our next meeting, we can discuss openly, and whatever we decide, we have that flexibility at our next meeting. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item D2, this is the request of Statesman Tavern, 31 State Street, who's requesting a vittling license. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, the Department of Water Pollution Control to approve with certain conditions, and the Town Administrator and Fire Chief to approve, and also from the Town Administrator and Chief of Police. That was a late item recommendation.
Motion to approve upon all the conditions and ordinances and licenses that are needed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Also from the same petitioner, a request for sidewalk use license. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Code Compliance Coordinator, the Director of Public Works, and also the Chief of Police.
Upon those conditions with the DPW Director and all the approvals, make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Again, from the same petitioner, request council consideration for sidewalk alcohol service license. You have recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and Chief of Police.
Again, motion to approve with all the state ordinances and codes. And now I can say congratulations to the applicant and wish you much luck after all these approvals.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So now we can say again, congratulations.
Congratulations.
If you would like a 20-second commercial on...
I'm lucky my colleague said aye.
No, you know what's funny is that I literally I'm wearing my shoes, I jumped off the line, buttoned my shirt up, ran over here because my guys are cooking and we're actually quite busy, so I need to move on.
That's good news.
Seriously, thanks a lot, guys. Business has been great, and this whole process everyone was a big help. And for a guy like me who's a cook, this is relatively daunting, but I very do much appreciate everyone's assistance and good tidings.
Good luck and thank you for the kind words.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
A happy anniversary.
Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.
Mr. Clerk.
Next item is item D5. This is the petition of Adam Sardina, doing business as the Green Table Juicery and Cafe at 17 State Street. Request council consideration for a vittling license. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, Department of Water Pollution Control, and Chief of Police.
Based on all the department heads' recommendations, I'm making a motion to approve the vittling license.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Best of luck, Adam.
Is Adam here?
Yes.
Adam, we would be remiss in not giving you a 35-second commercial. Come on up and just share a little bit about it. We're giving 10 seconds away tonight, so. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, my wife and I are basically looking to open our organic cold-pressed juicery and cafe, with the main focus being on the juice and smoothies. Excited about it. My wife's going to be managing. She's got a nutrition degree, and she'll be putting that to use. And she's, going to be heading up a lot of the logistical things. So we still have quite a bit of a process. The landlord has a grant. To my knowledge, I think that he said it's a federal grant, and they're going to be doing a complete restoration of the property. So, kind of coming alongside of him and be able to walk through that process with him. So, excited about the end result, and hopefully this summer, we'll be able to be up and running and serving the community. And
when do you expect to be open?
So the landlord thinks that if the build-out were to begin, very shortly, that it could be done by June. Although I don't feel like that's a very realistic
Good for you. No disrespect to the landlord,
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking that probably late July to early August seems more realistic.
Okay.
I mean, and there's, apart from what they're doing, we have our own, build out that's gonna, take place in addition. So that's gonna, extend that time frame a little bit. But yeah, we're excited.
Adam, where is 17? Tell everybody where that is on State Street.
So we'll basically be neighbors with
The Statesman's Tavern?
Yeah, for the most part, between Bar 31 and Judge Roy Bean.
Gotcha.
There's some signage left over from a previous business. It says Magic Mirror.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that rings a bell for anyone.
Yes.
But I think it's been vacant for some time, and the landlord's, been trying to get this restoration project going. So, yeah, should be, a good location, and we're looking forward to, the whole process continuing on.
We wish you luck, sir.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Did we vote on that? Did we vote on that, Lou?
You did.
Excellent.
You didn't know he was here. The next item is a request on behalf of Thames Street Landing and the Wolf Tavern. This is for a temporary expansion of Class BV licensed premises to include the adjacent brick alley and parking lot for their 5th annual Oyster Festival fundraising event on June 17th. This is a call for public hearing to take place on May 23rd.
Make a motion that this is a call for the public hearing on May 23rd.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Similarly, you have the request of State Street Tavern LLC doing business as Bar 31. Request council consideration for the transfer of their alcoholic beverage license, and this is to call for a public hearing on that same date, May 23rd.
Motion to call for a public hearing on May 23rd.
Aye. All right. Second.
There's
I
a motion.
second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
State Street is very busy.
I'm going to ask that again.
It's a place to be.
Activity. and
Is anybody in
changes.
favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Item D8 is this is sort of a twofold thing. This brings your attention to the fact that the Liberatus Lounge and Restaurant LLC, which used to be known as Agave, informs the council that it has changed its DBA to the Beach House. You receive that as part of your consent agenda. They're also asking council consideration for basically a reconfiguration of their existing licensed premises per the documents provided. You have recommendations provided by the fire chief, town administrator, and chief of police.
So we have a recommendation from the police department, the chief of police, to deny this particular application. And I'm going to ask the chief if he wouldn't mind speaking real quick on, I know we have it in front of us, but I'd like to have it on the public record, on rationale behind it.
I believe, do you have the sketch in front of you, Mr. Chairman?
I'm
Do
sorry?
you have the sketch in front of you?
We do.
We just got some pictures, too, in the late items.
We got some late item pictures, yes.
Were those provided by my department, or was that by the petitioner?
Yeah.
Okay. I think real quick, there is no establishment in this town that has a 40-seat outdoor bar, and I think that is problematic. As you know, many of these other establishments have come before you. We've asked them to cross Ts, dot Is, made sure that we were very comfortable with where they would be serving the alcohol, how the alcohol would be controlled, monitored, and it's attached, enclosed completely. As you can see with that photo there, this is in the back of the parking lot. Okay, I believe the bar outside is going to be bigger than the bar on the inside. I don't have an actual dimension, but I would say it's probably 20 feet from the bike path, which is heavily traveled by bicyclists, people jogging, walking their children, dogs, whatever it may be. I just believe that this is a problematic situation. I have an establishment with that large bar, okay, that's not seating for people to eat, as we have in many other places, whether it's Aiden's, Quito's, the Wolf Tavern, any one of those. Even here downtown, we have the Oyster Bar and all of them. It's an enclosed area, very well controlled, and there's food. This, to me, appears that this is just an outside bar, something like you'd see maybe at Block Island. And I'm going to be honest with you, the police department, we don't have personnel to be manning that. And I just see that to be a serious problem for the bike path, for the residents that the property lined up there, and your feet from the water. And a parking lot where somebody can just walk away from the bar with a bottle of alcohol and jump onto a motorcycle or a vehicle, whatever it may be. I'm definitely not for granting a license without some serious control and restriction in an enclosed area, such as the other places that I've labeled for you.
So I concur, but I also would be open-minded to considering instead of this large increase here, I'd be certainly open-minded to considering a smaller increase to this area. I'm not looking to go through point by point this evening, but certainly happy to listen to some potential changes to this. Our next meeting is on the 23rd, and if we had a more favorable recommendation from department heads, including the police chief, I'm certainly willing to listen to that. I don't know what my colleagues think. But this for myself is too large for the area, in my opinion. But, as I said, I'm absolutely willing to consider other options if something else was presented.
I concur with the chairman. I definitely would like to see strike a balance. Chief, if we continue this to the next meeting and maybe work with the proprietors to sort of scale it back a little bit and kind of make it a win-win for all, because we pride ourselves on being business friendly, but at the same time, maybe there could be a balanced strike. I understand your concerns with the 40, and I respect that.
Right. And some type of, as I said, enclosed structure. I mean,
Yeah.
this can't just be open. Really, you're in the parking lot. Whether you're in the rear of the building or on the side, you're in the parking lot. It's a good-sized establishment. We'd love them to have as many people as they possibly can, as long as they're in compliance with the fire code and everything else. But to have a large bar like that outside there, I don't even know if, I haven't seen any plans for any construction,
Right.
how this is going to be put together.
Building permits, such and
right,
so forth.
whether it's permanent, temporary. I'm assuming that's not something they're going to assemble every day, with stools and everything else that they have to put out there, and I'm sure it has to be weatherproof, too. I'm sure this gentleman wouldn't be spending his money and letting the weather just tear it apart, you know. But I agree. We're willing to work with them. This is just a very large scale to just give the green light and move forward. So, whatever the council sees fit, we'll be
My
more than
colleagues are
willing
open
to
to
work
continuing
with
it.
them.
I'd like to continue
Some
it.
dialogue.
I honestly think we don't have enough information to really make a decision tonight, but that's my 2 cents.
Well,
Okay.
certainly,
Thank you.
Chief, we always respect your recommendation and your assessment. The proprietor is here with us. I did speak with the proprietor. This is a family. The Liberatos family has more than one establishment that they own here in the town of Bristol for many years. My question would be, with those establishments, such as presently the Beach House, which was Agave, and the Thames on the grill on Waterside, and I believe at one time the Wave, right, with a family member at one time. Is there any records, the good business owners with a good track record with your department and abiding by things?
Yep, we don't have any problem with the way the gentleman runs his business, any of the establishments that have been there. As you know, if there is an issue, we're going to address it quick and swift, and if we need to take further action, it'll be before you. That's not even a question that we need to entertain. We just need to entertain what's being presented to you right now and how it would fit in our community, and also have the police department continue to do what we do, which is to make sure everyone's safe.
And I did mention that to the owner about safety of our community and the fabric of our community in comparison, but certainly we are pro-business. We understand the need and vision that he's looking to add, like every other restaurant that is seasonal, that is on the ambience of the water, and he did make renovations inside to be more family-friendly, and he was telling me how the expansion is going outside. I think with the pergola, your vision, since it was already established as a stationary pergola, you probably were thinking, well, that's a good place for the bar. I guess my other question would be, I know you had tables there. I actually dined there, listening to music right 10 feet from the bike path, where you can eat and actually drink alcohol. But this is going to be different because they're going to be serving the alcohol that close proximity to the bike path. And I didn't know if CRMC or DEM has any regulations that close to the bike path when you start making these constructional modifications to businesses or residents. I didn't know if there was any involvement with them.
From what I've seen here, it's nothing permanent, so it would basically be within the town of Bristol.
Okay.
So we had a couple of other people in front of us. I'd ask you, maybe you've made some changes, so why don't you share some of those? This is your 30-second commercial that we've talked about a couple of times. Why don't you share what you've done as differences and share your thoughts, please.
I'm Gerasimos Liberatos, my wife Jessica Liberatos.
Welcome.
Thank you. As you all know, we made renovations to the beach house, and I just wanted to clarify. I know the plans that we submitted is basically just a general floor plan of what we want to do with the liquor license. The pergola is our dining room area, our outdoor dining area, and the bar would just be, instead of having all those tables under the pergola, we would do bar seating, and it would all be for food service. I want to do a raw bar out there for our guests. It's just what customers are asking for to be on the water. So it wouldn't be just a bar for serve alcohol. People are just, our customers are asking for outdoor seating, up high, on the water. As far as your concerns with the storing the alcohol, our designer designed the bar, which I don't think you guys have any of those plans.
No.
Do you? No. All right.
No.
We submitted them to historic. That's why we didn't. Okay. The bar is completely enclosed. Doors come down from the roof. Everything stays sealed at night. It locks away. And it's actually just replacing our dining room tables that we already have there. And we're actually reducing the capacity from, say, where we had with tables, it was 60 seats. We'll be taking 20 away and only be 40 seats.
But it's in the shape of a bar as opposed to tables.
Exactly.
Correct?
So we were reducing our capacity to by 20 seats by doing the bar.
But doesn't that lend itself more to people sitting there drinking, as opposed to people coming in to eat at a table?
I don't think we're that type of establishment.
Yeah.
Like in the past, I know the top side maybe, yeah, but we're more family friendly and just looking to have a nice outdoor meal at a bar and, just
I'd say
being
we have
outside.
we fill up in our indoor bar. We fill that up just as easily as the actual dining room. So people are coming in with the option of sitting at a table to have their meal, and they actually opt more for the bar. Obviously not families with small children, but we've found that it's not necessarily, people aren't coming in and just drinking. And like the chief said, we have never really had any issues as far as, disturbances or late nights or things like that have caused any issues.
So for myself, as I said right in the beginning, I'm happy to consider other options. I do concur with what's been said already, that I think the bar does, and my wife and I go out to dinner to multiple restaurants in town, and we sit at the bar too, and we'll have their dinner there. But I think outside is a little bit different. It is different. So for myself, and sounds like my colleagues too, certainly willing to consider options. Councilman Tiska wants to share something, but I think that I'm happy to consider this and look at this. And as has already been stated, you have been a good business owner and a good neighbor. Without that, honestly, we wouldn't consider any kind of addition. So your past history weighs heavily on our decision, which is positive. So I'd certainly consider other options here, the smaller bar area, and addressing the concerns that have already been expressed. Councilman?
Yeah, so I assume that an improvement like this isn't just moving the chairs around on the deck, that you would anticipate some growth of your business by an improvement like this. So I think as part of the conversation, it would be good to understand the economic impact to the town of Bristol. I would assume in a positive way as the meals and beverage tax annually continues to grow, and projects like this would, I would assume, have an impact, and maybe we could get a recommendation from our economic development coordinator through the administrator on if that's measurable, and if it's not measurable, what it would be for our consideration in deciding on how to proceed with this. And so maybe you can help communicate what you're expecting, and so that could help us measure what the impact is to the town in a positive way. And I think that's important to consider alongside the safety concerns. You know, I think it's a balance, and I don't think we should just scale it way up because of the impact, but I think it needs to be weighed and balanced with the safety concerns as well in a positive way.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Well, I also think from the owner's perspective, you know, we're telling him to come back, but I think he needs a clear vision because, as you said, Councilman Tisker, he's making a big investment, not only from the renovations inside, the outside is going to be very costly, as he was explaining, with the deck that is up there, he's making changes to, and then the bar, so the public knows at home, this is a four-sided bar where the bartenders are in the middle. That's why the capacity is on all sides where they're getting 40 seats. It's just not one long bar with 40 seats. So they could have a understanding of what type of bar you're putting under the pergola. I just would like that our department heads work with the applicant so we're not going time and time again back and forth. I think we all made our concerns. We all have a good vision. We have a past record of recommendations and other businesses that we all work in tandem as a community, and we want great success for each business, and I think we do a good job approaching that. But also, I think we want to just streamline, you know, a long process for the applicants that come before us, as we mentioned time and time again also. So.
Can I just say, so you have, this is already before the Historic District Commission, is that
Yes.
it? So you already have plans?
Yes.
Yep.
I think that they should be shared with our police department in particular, and...
Yeah, I thought they were. I didn't know that.
And,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
I mean, you know, I'd have to, like, look at the exact
It's hard to
spot.
visualize without any
Right.
plans, obviously, yeah.
And I think that the, so there are some pictures in the police department's, what they sent to us, but, you know, I don't know where they, I assume they got them from maybe the town or from you, but, you know, I cite very often the meal and beverage tax that we get and how that is increasing and how important that is to our community. But I also have to be honest with you, and I get concerned when I feel like an economic development plan is based on alcohol consumption. So I just want to make that clear, like, you know, to be business friendly, but we have to be safe. We have to make sure people are safe and make sure that this is a safe environment.
Yeah.
And particularly given the location. So very often, I mean, you know, you probably already know that I'm like, tend to like not be too favorable in some cases to these. But I just get nervous that people say, well, oh, everything because we want to be like supportive. Well, great, but it's not always necessarily the safest thing. So economic development needs to be a broad-based thing and not just based on alcohol, and that worries me. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm not implying that at all. I think it's great from what I've seen just by driving by, and I'll have to stop into your restaurant. But I just, you know, it just makes me nervous when people say that. And you didn't say it, but I mean, just my colleagues and other
Sure.
people could have implied that, you know, this is like, hey, our economic development, let's get more alcohol drinkers, you know, so.
I just wanted to point out one more time that alcohol already is served on that patio. So I am fully respect that. Safety is a huge concern. I'm a mom with 3 kids. My children are at that restaurant very frequently, and I understand that. But I also just want to, again, reiterate that the alcohol is already being consumed, and that this would just, yes, there should be an increase in business, but it is somewhat of a floor change. I don't want to, I know what you're saying in terms of the bar being built, but it is somewhat of a floor change. We've found that to utilize, our kitchen, and it's become a little bit of an issue. So we just want to streamline our service to our customers, and we're finding that this might be the best way to do
Would
it.
it be a different menu? Like one of the other restaurants has a totally different menu outside than in, or is it the same menu?
That's not something we have set in stone yet. We generally, right now, serve the same full menu at the
Outside.
inside bar and outside, so I'm pretty sure it would be the same menu.
Just want to add also, our vision with the outdoor bar is also, want to add a raw bar to one side of the bar where we could display, raw seafood and stuff. But the health department won't allow us unless we have a structure. We need a roof to do that, just for the regulations. I just wanted to add that. So it's not just strictly alcohol related that the application is for.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue this to the next council meeting. We need to get some clarification on the number of patrons we're going to have, and we obviously would love to see your plans, and we want to see you successful, obviously.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we can strike that balance.
Yeah,
Well put.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I second that, and while he's making this investment, I'll just say it again, that if there are different options, they should be provided so we can have a clear path of how he's going to design this. If he has to make changes, like he said, he's limited. If he has to do another structure on the first tier deck, or what's going to be accommodating with the whole floor plan with the deck and the bottom tier patio, so.
We're also
I wonder if you
limited
guys
by
usually there, if we
season,
wanted to
too.
just, if we wanted to go by there and just have you walk us through that, are one of you usually there?
Yes.
Yeah, always.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is D9, and this is the petition of the St. Elizabeth United Brotherhood Committee asking for one-day dancing and entertainment license for May 19th, 2018. You have recommendations provided by the Fire Chief, Town Administrator, and Chief of Police.
Based on all the recommendations, make a motion to approve.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
just that it's that time of the year, and please support these festivals such as the Santo Cristo and the Brotherhood of the Holy Ghost and Holy Trinity here in our community. They do an excellent job and a lot of hard work on many volunteers in our community, so it's great food and a great time, so that's all.
They do. They do.
Well put, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
D10 from the same committee requests council consideration for one-day dancing and entertainment licenses for May 25th, 26th, and 27th. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Chief of Police.
Based on all the recommendation, I make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And D11 from the St. Elizabeth Church Santo Cristo Committee requests for one-day dancing and entertainment licenses for June 1, 2, and 3, 2018. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Chief of Police.
Based on all the recommendations, I make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is related to something that you're going to be having a public hearing on. This is the request of the organizer for the 5th Annual Oyster Festival fundraising event, which will have outdoor entertainment, food trucks, etc., for June 17, 2018, and also request permission to hang banners on town property prior to the event. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Chief of Police.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself from this agenda item as well as the next one, as I have threads of association with both.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
I second, and I'm just glad every year that they're continuing this event. And I would imagine it would still be the same locations for the banners. Lou?
I'm not sure if they spelled it out in the petition.
I think they do 2 or 3 throughout town that are positioned. I would imagine that they're going to do the same, so it's a great event, so.
I'm just curious on one thing, and maybe maybe one of you can answer it. So in the past, if I recall correctly, it was always like a March of Dimes fundraiser. Are they changing that to different organizations? Is that what it seems to me?
I don't have the,
I,
do we have representation here this evening?
but you are correct.
Thank you.
There was a March of Dimes
I thought it was
fundraiser.
Used to be, yeah.
I
Yeah,
was curious. I was just curious about that.
I think it still is March of Dimes.
still is. Yeah.
No, they changed it because it says the event is, the charity chosen for this year is East Bay Food Pantry.
Right.
Yeah. So it looks like they're, so I was just curious about if they're changing.
it's a
and gonna
rolling-
Pick somebody every,
Well, both are worthy causes,
Yeah,
so
they are, yeah.
either
I
way,
was just curious about that.
either way, they're donating funds to a needy.
Good recovery. So there's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Oh, I just was curious about that.
That's a good point.
And we, excuse me, and yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, we have an F2. This is the petition of Lynn Shaw on behalf of the Bristol Merchants Association, in partnership with the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Health Equity Zone, request for permission to hold farmers market. The initial application was for Independence Park, Saturdays, May 26th through October 27th, and also a request permission to have banners in the vicinity of the event. You have supplemental information provided, and also recommendation from the police department, which suggests a change of scope and venue.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
hearing us. We're happy to be here. So we're here tonight, excited to be here, and speaking for the Bristol Merchants is myself and Kathleen and Linda, and for the Health Equity Zone is Emily Spence.
And you're Lynn Shaw, right?
And I'm Lynn Shaw. So we have had a goal for the past few years of starting a farmers market in the downtown area, as just to bring more people to the downtown area and to have a centrally located farmers market where people who use the RIPTA bus line, the bike path, the senior community could have easier access to healthier food choices, meat, poultry, fresh vegetables, that type of thing. So we have collaborated on that. And so we're here tonight to talk about the possibilities of bringing a farmers market to the downtown area. As Lou just stated, we started out hoping for Independence Park, but as I spoke to the Bristol Police and actually watched for myself a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday when it's a beautiful day out, there's really no place to park down there. You have people that come to use the bike path that park and then jump on the bike path and then don't come back for 4 hours at a time. So there's really not a lot of cars coming and going. They stay. So we're fine with change of venue, which now would be the Bristol Town Common, which actually is probably an easier access as far as parking.
And I understand from talking to Sarah, recreation director, sorry. It's a private joke. Rec sounds poor. I don't think it sounds bad. I think it sounds great. So rec is recreation. Anyway, is that I understand that it started, the initial proposal was in the corner, we'll say next to St. Mary's and CVS, and it was proposed to be across the street from Reynolds School, right, between the buildings, so
Correct.
Byfield and the State House.
That is
that correct? Okay. Tell us about how many vendors that you believe initially and then also moving forward.
Okay, so the first year, obviously, it's a little late in the season. We started this back in right after Christmas, so January, but waiting for, there's a few people on vacations and so forth and so on, so obviously things get pushed out. So we initially were hoping for 25 vendors. What's going to happen the first year now is probably 12 to 15 tops for the first year, which I think is a good goal. And I also think that that's an easy, manageable amount for the first year, so we can, kind of learn and test the waters. We're not going to have any food, so we're not going to have any kind of food trucks or any prepared foods there. It's basically just going to be vendors who either grow their own vegetables, beef, poultry, cheese, eggs, that type of stuff. I have a woman who sells flowers. So basically anything that is grown by you or sourced by you. And then also we have a few artists. So I'm thinking and again, it's late in the season for this because a lot of vendors or farmers have already signed up for other markets. We have a few waiting in the wings to hear if we get approved or not. So I think 12 to 15 is going to be a stretch, I think, this year.
Sarah, if you wouldn't mind, I know that there was also dialogue in regards to trash and those kind of things. What did you end up with there?
So as Lynn said, we had some initial concerns about having it at Independence Park, then concerns about having it over by CVS. When we moved it over to between Byfield and the courthouse, I felt that was a better spot. It wouldn't impact the churches as much because it is an afternoon. I had concerns about the trash, the weather, also the Parks and Recreation logo on the event has since been removed. We're really just supplying the use of the common, but we're not involved in the event itself. Although we will oversee, and I have a good relationship with Lynn. I know Lynn does things right, so I'm confident after our conversation today that the trash is going to be trash in, trash out for the vendors. With no food, I don't expect a lot of extra trash, but they'll have a volunteer that'll put it aside for our guy to pick up the next day. They won't have it in the rain. They won't have it when it's real muddy to wreck the common. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, and there'll be no driving on the grass. They'll load and unload right behind Byfield School.
Oh, yes.
Right there in the parking lot, and then the vendors will be expected to move their cars out of the direct vicinity to free up parking for the guests to the farmers market.
So
And that will all be monitored as well. We have a market manager, and one of us through either the BMA or the HES program, there will be a volunteer there as well, so there'll be 2 people at the market, and the market is only 3.5 hours. It's from 1 to 4:30.
So,
Where would the vendors park? I mean, why wouldn't they stay behind Byfield School?
For other people, just to free up parking for people who are going there, and I think they're used to that. So if you go to a farmer's market and you're a vendor, that's normally the protocol is unload your stuff and then move so that a paying customer can come and park closer.
So can I suggest for the residents ease who live there and are, have no parking because of many cars and apartments, that you urge them to park on the common side of the and not like in front of somebody's house?
So, what's the
So
common
closest to the
side?
common.
Like on the common side, if they're going to move their car,
Right.
like, they could either move it down here to this parking lot, or
Right.
they should park on the common side. They shouldn't be parking on, like, in front of everybody's house.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a designated area for them to go to or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
We had also talked about parking behind Byfield, but I wasn't sure about the businesses that are in Byfield right now, whether they use that parking.
You don't want to negatively affect them.
But
sure.
we had talked about offering them to open their doors, and maybe they would get some
Right.
walking
That's a good
traffic.
Well, we thought
Well, then
this
there's
would
the
bring some more
Mercantile
foot
right
traffic
across the
to
And
them
then
street.
as
there's
well.
there's also the rental school, that little lot by Reynolds.
Right,
That
right.
people can park in. I mean,
Right.
I don't know people that think of, unless they're working in Byfield, I don't know anybody that thinks to go park their car at Byfield. Like, I don't even
Right.
think that, so to say that the paying customers are going to park there, I'm pretty sure the paying customers are going to park on the
Right.
street. I just don't think that they think that's a parking lot. for
Right,
them.
I agree with you.
We just wanted
Certainly.
to check it out and make sure that that wasn't an issue.
certainly the vicinity of the common, in comparison, like the first thought process of Independence Park with the transit of the bus, downtown
Right.
walk-in accessibility, and we're a town that is thriving on walkability, different types of paths where pedestrians can get to events like this. So the common's just literally a half a block up from the downtown area.
Right.
So there is a concern about parking, because my next question would be, if it rains, there will not be a rain date that is a mutual agreed upon with the Parks and Recreation
No.
and the town. That will be on Sunday, because my concern tonight is, and thank you for the concept and the thought process behind it, is 2 things. One, as the BMA, who holds the liability, because I know once you start dealing with food, and especially on the town common, from a town perspective, I'm more than happy to have the relationship, but we need that indemnification of liability to be addressed. The other thing is, I had to point this question is the original application, I just don't know how it was advertised. If it was for Independence Park and now we're talking about a change to the town common, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if we have to just prolong this one more meeting to advertise for the proper audience to the residents in the community that might live by the town common versus Independence Park, to maybe they have concerns. I don't know how this was advertised. So when we make changes like this with motions and cases that are in front of us, we have to be careful on what's presented outside of what was advertised, because as a community, we have to be courteous to the residents that might be impacted just by that idea. So
What about the mobile market? Are they still going to be on the common from time to time, or no?
No.
Mike, could you address that question?
I was just looking and actually just discussing with Lou as to whether or not it was advertised for Independence versus whether it was advertised for, I guess it was advertised for Independence.
Yeah, it shows that way on our agenda.
So
Yeah.
can I just respond
Certainly.
to that? So originally, that was our idea, was Independence Park. And then, so let me just take a step back. This all started when Walter was still the head of Parks and Recreation.
All those
And-
years ago, right?
Yeah, and so we had spoken about this 4 years ago, and had tried to make a plan about a farmer's market at that point at Independence Park. Independence Park we felt was the best place because it's right where the bike path either ends or begins. Obviously, Rip DeBus, it's closer to downtown. So this all changed last Wednesday. So I understand what you're saying, but we're just trying to work with everyone. And
So, Lynn, what I think I hear is not objection to it, more of just, we have to advertise it correctly. So it sounds like this shouldn't, and I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I don't hear any objection to this. I've
Right.
heard some concerns that have been addressed. So it's just an advertising thing, so we just want to make sure that we convey this correctly to the public.
Right.
Because it was advertised as independent. So it's not a question of why is it going here, it's more just making sure that the residents know
understand.
this is what's being considered, and if someone had a concern about it, they could express it.
And how would that take place? And the reason I say that is we're in a short window at this point, and starting a farmer's market in July is just not an option. We have vendors waiting. So, and I know why we have to do it. I understand
Yeah.
that. But I also believe that bringing Wood Street is an area that obviously Mosaico, and they've done a lot of great things there. But I think something like a farmer's market there would help a lot of the businesses there and not hurt them, if you're talking about the businesses or just the residents, or both.
So, just backing up, it's not a question of anything more than just advertising it correctly. Because we said it was going to be, well, the way it was conveyed to the public was independence.
Right.
So now that we're considering putting it on the common, we have to tell everybody that's what we're considering. But I don't want to fill in the blanks for the solicitor.
Okay.
Do we need to continue this, or?
I think they're clearly getting the opinion from the council that you're leaning in towards of
I agree with
approving
that.
this.
I agree.
It is clear, though, that the world knows that it's happening in Independence Park and not on the Common
At this moment.
at this moment.
We have
So-
not advertised that.
No,
No,
but the
just for
town
Oh,
has.
for you, for the
Yeah,
town.
just for
Okay,
us, just
okay.
process.
Just from our agenda.
Yeah.
And theoretically, there could be individuals who live on streets along the Common who would want to be heard.
Okay.
So I'll answer that question for you, Lynn. Our next meeting is May 23rd. Is that enough advertising time? Lou and Mike, is that enough advertising time?
It's just a due diligence. It would be like the
No,
British
I
British Car
understand.
Festival having their block party at Independence Park and being advertised.
I understand.
And then coming to a meeting, or even a week before it was properly advertised, say, we're going to change it to Wood Street.
Right.
You know, you have to...
Right.
let-
I understand, and it wasn't our
Advertise
choice,
it
and we've put a lot of work
Absolutely.
into this. And having said that, this isn't going to be a huge festival. There's going to be 12 or 15 vendors there, so there's not going to be hundreds of people.
So here's our answer.
I just want to clarify that this was not a legal advertisement, like a block ad in the
Sure.
newspaper. It was simply the way it was
Agenda.
published
Okay.
on our agenda.
Okay.
And so anyone who looked at the agenda before this evening would say, oh, it's going to be on Independence
Right.
Park. That's fine.
I understand.
Okay.
I'd like to say, first of all, I'm very much in support of the farmers market. I think it's going to do
Thank
a
you
lot
very
for the
much.
community. You have my support on it. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue it so it could be advertised properly, and we can
23rd?
clear up any questions that they may have had on May 23rd.
Does it?
My motion?
I'll second, but Mr. Solicitor, are you saying we can make a motion tonight?
No, you
Oh,
should make
okay.
it on May 23rd.
I was trying.
Thank you, Eddie.
So I'll second.
have people waiting
and
in the wings,
It's just
that's
unfortunate
all.
because I know a lot of time restraints with a lot of ideas and
Right.
whatnot, so,
But the good news is that when it's on our agenda next, we've discussed it, so it's a real quick, it's just going through the correct steps
Okay.
to make sure it's advertised correctly. Is there any other discussion?
What the solicitor's
I would just say,
saying, you can
don't
let
move it
people-
again.
Well, I didn't move it.
No,
I
I
didn't
know,
want to
just-
move it. So it wasn't my choice, but we're willing to do what we need to do just to get it started and to see how it goes the first year. I think it's,
I think it's a wonderful thing.
thank you very much.
I really do.
That's great.
We have a motion and a second to continue to the 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, the next item is a request from the resident of 48 Union Street for a no parking zone east side of Noyes Avenue, south of driveway for 48 Union Street. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Chief of Police, and Director of Public Works.
Make a motion to approve, but with the conditions set forth by the concerns of the Director of Public Works
Okay, this would be to refer to the
Then-
solicitor for...
for an ordinance. Then that's what I will do. So moved.
So we have a motion to refer to the administrator to create an ordinance. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item was a request for a no parking zone, and late item 4C is the withdrawal of the petition by the petitioner.
So we need to receive and file, Lou?
Perfect.
So
Motion
moved.
to, yep, second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item G1. You have the resignation of John B. Triano III from the Harbor Commission.
Accept the resignation and thank Mr. Triano for his many years of service. Please send out a thank you and advertise as appropriate.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Do we want to move Stephen Roth from the alternate member to a full member and move the Rick, I believe, to the first alternate member?
The only thing we have here,
Want to
and
move any?
I think it wasn't advertised that way, so
Okay.
we could put it on our next agenda now that we have the resignation.
Sure.
It
And
might
also
be...
check with Mr.
It might be
Smith and
worthwhile to also check whether or not Mr. Roth does, he's not always available.
So we can
So
check to see if there's
I think
interest.
he enjoyed being an
Yeah.
alternate.
Gotcha.
I think it needs to be on the...
We can certainly check with
Yeah.
them and see who's available.
Excellent.
I believe-
Let's check with both of them and see if they're interested.
I believe
in being
Mr.
moved on.
Medeiros actually applied to be elevated when one of the full-time members, I believe it was Mr. Franco, was appointed. He actually put an application in to be elevated, but again, by
Could we also
process.
advertise an interview, maybe some interested potential
I was just gonna say,
candidates
exactly.
as well?
Sure,
I think it's important to see who else new
Maybe
might
we
be
can check with
interested.
Mr. Roth.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item I-1. This is the revised bylaws of the Christmas Festival Committee for council approval.
Motion to approve?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item I-2. This is correspondence from the Deputy Director of the Coastal Resources Management Council considering a hearing on the proposed SAMP Chapters 1, 2, 6, and 7. There's a requirement to submit comments by May 14th.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
There's a motion to receive and file in a second. Lou, question on this. Is this one of those items that could go to consent agenda and not require action unless needed? Because we seem to do that every single time. I'd like
can't see why not.
I'd like to consider that. If my colleagues have objections, certainly, but
Well, I think
I don't want it to go away, but it would go in consent agenda, if needed, pull forward.
Well, I think these proposed changes are, I think, important changes that maybe should be at least considered by the council, because it talks about some potential policy changes in how we look at and review developments on the waterfront, maybe not within the coastal zone, but very near it. And I know we have some of those applications before us, and not that it would necessarily cover those, but I think going forward, it's important that we have the opportunity to understand what these changes are, and then maybe talk about how we, as a council, would like to maybe integrate their implementation as recommended by some of our boards, where it's sort of a voluntary sort of walkthrough of these regulations before they become mandatory, to see how we are going to address long-term climate change and sea level rise. You know, we're vulnerable, and this is very specific to, I think, towns like ours. So I think we should keep it as an item we might want to take action on.
Well, the reason why I say that is that all of our consent is actionable items, and all of our consent, we all have the capability of pulling them forward.
Sure, yep.
And over the last, I would say, probably 50 times this has been in front of us, we received and file every time. So in instances where it's very appropriate, I do believe we should pull it forward and have discussion on it. But if we're going to receive and file on every single one, unless appropriate to talk about, just seems like it would take it off the agenda.
It seemed to me like a
I'm
while
fine with
ago,
this,
didn't we ask Diane to just kind of go through them and flag them if there's something that we really needed to, in addition to any one of us who can pull it?
Certainly.
To be able to see if it's something that relates directly to one of our, like a project or policy change or that. So, I mean, I would just kind of reiterate that point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to push it to the back. If it does,
Yeah.
if it needs to be talked about, let's talk about it. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is a request for executive session, so we'll take that up at the conclusion of the public agenda. Then you have correspondence from the Economic Development Coordinator regarding the Downtown Bristol survey presentation.
Chris, did you want to share?
Absolutely. So I just want to give a brief introduction before I turn it over to him. Earlier this year, we commissioned a community-wide satisfaction survey of downtown Bristol. Diane, myself, we work closely with the students at Roger Williams who are sitting in the back today. They've been very
Welcome.
patient with us.
Welcome.
We had no idea why you were here, so now we know.
As well as the Bristol Merchants Association. I know Kathleen was here a little bit earlier. I also want to say a special thank you to Julie in the Finance Department for allowing us to send out some of the survey flyers in the motor vehicle tax assessment refund checks. It's a mouthful. Okay, I wanted to make sure I got that right. So we sent out 2,000 flyers to residents here in Bristol. It didn't cost us anything extra in postage, but it gave those checks a little bit more of a purpose. So check mark there. So there were, like I said, there was 2,000 there in total. The flyers and the paper copies of the survey we printed and we cut those in-house. We also were able to do free advertising on our town website and Facebook, so we didn't pay for anything there. The only thing that we did pay for was to host the survey online, which was about $12. So
How dare you, Chris? How dare you?
I know, man, twist my arm. You know, paper copies of the survey, they were available here at Town Hall when people were coming in. So we got several from here, as well as the front desk at the Rogers Free Library. So if people went in there, I know that we about 50 total, 50 paper copies total, but the majority of the people filled the survey out online. But really, at this time, I want to turn it over to Luke Dedarian and Julia Stanton from Roger Williams and give you a little bit of details of the results of the survey.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. So Julie's just going to hand you out our little handout that has all
Thank
of our
you.
information on it before we begin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Lou. One for Lou.
Thank you.
Keep it with all of our records.
So share with us.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris, for introducing us. Council Chairman, Town Council members, Town Directors, and Bristol residents, we want to thank you for this opportunity to present an overview of the research project, which, as Chris told you, has been a collaboration with a number of parties. The overall project goal was to gather information that would help the town of Bristol develop strategies to bring more people downtown. Tonight, we would like to give you a brief overview of the survey and highlight the results that may suggest ideas for further action. So we're going to start with who answered the surveys. We collected data from over 1,000 respondents, 1,079 to be exact. 613 of those were Bristol residents. 432 of them were from the RW community, split half between students and faculty and staff. And 34 were business owners that we spoke to directly. 1/3 of our respondents were male, and 2/3 of them were female. Very common to see that in surveys. Almost half of the respondents, 47%, come to downtown Bristol once a week, with another 21% coming once a month. The popular times we found for visiting downtown Bristol are weekday evenings and weekend afternoons. And additionally, most of the respondents said that they drive to downtown Bristol rather than walking or using public transportation. And finally, the number one reason residents said they come to downtown Bristol were for the restaurants or the food. And you'll see that theme show up later on in our results. So now that you have an understanding of who responded to the survey, we wanted to give you some insight into what they said, focusing on 4 main areas, which include perceptions, restrictions, education, and then opportunities as well. For perceptions, downtown Bristol were all very positive, which is good, from all the different respondent groups. The survey asked, what 2 words would you use to describe downtown Bristol to a friend? And the most frequently mentioned words we found were quaint, cute, beautiful, historic, charming, small, walkable, and friendly. So all good things.
I think that's in our next brochure, I got to tell you.
When respondents think of downtown Bristol, we've noticed that they primarily think of the restaurants. That was a common theme. We asked them to name a couple businesses in downtown Bristol, and 63 different businesses appeared in their responses, but the top 10 were all restaurants rather than retail businesses or other types of businesses. So segueing into business restrictions. So while downtown has a great image, we spoke with a lot of business owners in downtown, and they're looking for changes to some of the regulations like we saw here tonight. Very fitting. Some issues we heard that they were in trouble they were having were affordability and availability of liquor licenses, making it easier to expand their offerings like outdoor seating or an outdoor bar like we saw tonight, and town fees and ability to sell on holidays and permitting and all such like that. So it might be worth reviewing those rules and regulations to kind of streamline the advantage for both the town and the business owners. So with that, I'm going to transition it over to Julia.
Okay. Switch. So transitioning to education. So some of the issues raised in the survey would require a type of education campaign rather than making actual changes to downtown Bristol. So the first of these issues is parking. So survey responses indicate that the issue isn't so much as having sufficient parking, but rather a lack of awareness about the parking that exists. As you can see on the handout, almost half of respondents were quite satisfied with parking, with 1/3 being dissatisfied. Some comments that we received that showed a need for parking education were, I think there should be a public parking lot somewhere. Unless you live in Bristol, car drivers may not know about available parking, for example, on side streets or behind town buildings because there's no signage of those. And there was also numerous comments about not enough parking. Maybe these people just don't know where the parking exists. So thus, signage to point people to parking areas might be an important step to alleviate this concern. The second part of education is that there seems to be a disconnect between what is known about downtown Bristol and what actually exists down there. So education would be important for letting people know their shopping options that exist in downtown Bristol. For example, several respondents asked for a food store, not realizing that the CNR Mercantile is on High Street. And several respondents asked for a hardware store, not realizing that there's Union Commercial Company on Wood Street.
Andy would be very, very disappointed to hear that.
So yeah, it seems like a strong marketing campaign focusing on educating residents in the Roger Williams community as well about the downtown Bristol stores and parking would help bring more people to the area. And moving into opportunities. So some of the issues raised in the survey require something other than education or promotion. So we'd like to tell you about 4 opportunities that the data suggested would bring more shoppers to downtown Bristol. These 4 are business hours, special events, additional businesses, and attracting Roger Williams students. As for the hours, survey respondents reported that they were frustrated that there was nothing else to do at night other than eat and drink. If stores were open in the evenings, respondents said they would be more inclined to shop there. There was also a strong vote for places where, say, after they went out to dinner, they could get coffee or dessert or a drink. Respondents also voiced frustration over shops closing just as they got out of work at 5 p.m. And one respondent suggested that the shops stay open late at least one evening each week. So when we talked to the business owners, many expressed a willingness to stay open later, but they didn't want to be the only ones open. So this suggests that maybe there needs to be a concerted effort on all parts if more businesses are to stay open later. The second opportunity is special events. So one way to bring people to downtown Bristol more frequently would be to offer more events. The following are the most requested types of events: live music, including outdoor concerts, haunted Bristol tours, and other types of tours, historic boat tours, movies, themed events, nights such as karaoke and game nights, special events such as wine and food tastings, fairs, festivals, and Roger Williams student-centered events. So we realize that developing these kind of events don't happen overnight, but the overwhelming preference for more events, especially live music in particular, suggests that it might be worthwhile to explore. The third opportunity is additional businesses. So respondents also reported wanting to see more and different types of stores with more affordable options. So the most frequently mentioned are these, and this is in order of frequency of mention. So number 1 in mention was a clothing store, and then a food or grocer. Trader Joe's was named often. A wider variety of restaurants such as healthy food, Indian barbecue, vegetarian, gift stores, shoe stores, winter entertainment options such as a movie theater, and local gathering spots like bookstores, cafe, and a wine and cheese shop. And while many people said that they did not want any chain stores, others requested specific ones, such as Panera Bread, Chipotle, and Starbucks. So again, we realize that attracting new stores takes a lot of time and effort. However, the consistency of these requested stores suggests that the effort might be well rewarded. And the last opportunity is the Unicard program at Roger Williams. So the Roger Williams student ID can function as a credit card as well, in which students and their parents can add money to the card so that they can spend on food or whatnot. And this is the Unicard program. So almost 2/3 of students said that they would be inclined to buy from businesses that did participate in the Unicard program. So certainly there might be an opportunity here for cooperation between the town of Bristol and Roger Williams that might bring more students into downtown. So in conclusion, the takeaway from this survey is that there's a number of avenues that the town can pursue to build on the existing positive image of downtown Bristol. Some will require education and promotion, while others might require planning and coordination. But the potential is there, and now you have the data to guide your decisions. We would again like to thank the town of Bristol and the Community Development Department in particular for giving us the opportunity to work with you. And next Wednesday, on May 9th, we are making an expanded presentation to the department and Bristol Merchants Association. It's going to be at Linden Place at 2:30 in the afternoon, so we invite anyone to attend that as well. And if you have any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
This is wonderful. Thank you very, very much. This is
Thank you.
quite in-depth, too.
Just thank you very much. And again, through the community partnership, and I saw you last Thursday, I was just amazed on what you, the university, and students are doing in partnership with the town of Bristol, and their guidance and all their hard work on our behalf is just an asset to have all you students preparing this and helping us as a community. So I just want to thank you very much.
Can I just
Thank
ask you
you.
guys a quick question? Do you think, I don't know if this came up at all, but when you mentioned the food and the hardware store, and you mentioned two particular businesses, do you think that people think of them as being in downtown because they're on Wood Street and on High Street? Or do you think when you say downtown, you think that they're just thinking Hope Street, maybe Thames?
Well, in the very beginning of the survey, we had a map of the downtown area, and we named the downtown area as Wood, Hope, and High Street, bounded by, I can't remember the two streets, but we specified the area in which we were referring to as downtown Bristol. So, bounded by Constitution and Washington.
But to Councilwoman's point, years ago, I remember when I was a kid, most of these were here in Bristol. We have a shoe cobbler, maybe not just the exclusive shoe store, but we did have clothing stores, right? One right here on the corner, one up on Wood Street. I mean, there were women clothing stores, but they were very nice. We had a bookstore, gift stores, and we have a gift store right here. But I understand that location and advertising, wayfinding and signage is an important thing that we're working on. So.
Excellent job. I just had a quick question on restrictions and regulations in regards to that area. Was there any suggestions on how we can improve do people just blanketly, do they want just more outdoor seating all around, or and selling on the holidays? What was can you give me a little bit more on in those areas?
So we are currently still interviewing the downtown business owners. So we have to go through that data way more thoroughly to bring out more. I don't want to say anything that isn't representative of the data that we haven't gone through yet.
Okay.
I also just want to say one more thing. So
sure.
We're going to get electronic copies of this as well, and so it's going to be posted on the website. So between now and next week, when they do their big presentation to any of the business owners or members of the community that want to attend, we'll also put it on the website as well. So
Great.
The information is available.
Interested to see that.
Right. Because if we can tweak our restrictions and regulations to improve these areas, if a lot of people are surveying, and this is what's coming out around town, we don't want it to negatively impact our businesses. You know what I mean? If there's ways that we can improve, I'd like to know. Or
Absolutely.
We would like to know more about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank all of you.
Thank you.
Linda.
I just want to give these kids a shout out because Kathleen and I, Kathleen Seguin and I had been contacted by Kathy, and she said, would you mind just coming in and being with these young people in the lab? I always remember that night, fall semester, trying to find you in the Gabelli there, and there they were. They were all in this wonderful lab, and they were candid. They had great questions. Tell us what you think. Do you think this is da-da-da? They are just consummate, these young people, and we're very lucky to have them. And I know that Diane can say this. We've had other surveys over the years that I'm so long in the tooth. And this is the first time, Kathy, I need to compliment you that really has come with something, there's substance there. I know Christian's going to see that when he sees all of the work that they've done. But I think it's something to reckon with, and I just want to say, you guys deserve a shout-out. I wish you could have seen that room, but I'm so glad that I was here, because I didn't know you were going to do that. So listen to them. They are very wise people. But thank you for listening to them, but thank them for a stellar job. Well done.
Nice job.
Excellent job.
Thank you again, and with that, just going to make a motion to receive and file this presentation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you all.
Also from the Economic Development Coordinator, the annual Community Development Block Grant application and authorizing resolution.
All right. So it is that time of year again. So every year we have the option to apply for block grant funding through the Office of Housing and Community Development. This year, I've worked with several of the department heads and Steve as to what are some of the needs that we want to address this year and request funding for. So the projects that I laid out, they are addressed in our comprehensive plan as things that we want to work on, the capital improvements plan, and the funding here is accurate as the amounts were laid out in our feasibility studies, as well as we went out and I believe Ed got some figures from one of the local contractors who does the sidewalks for the town of Majority historically. So, in all, it's just over $700,000 that we'd be requesting. $5,000 of that would also be going to the Women's Resource Center for their domestic violence prevention services. And we do also have language in our comprehensive plan to support initiatives like that throughout the town.
Would you remind this council when we hear success? Because I assume success. So,
So the application would be submitted, the final application is going to be submitted on the 17th of this month, and I believe June 30th is going to be the date that we hear if we got the awards. So the funding, there is a contingency there that we would have to spend it within the next year. So I did double check with Julie and our team to make sure that all these projects could be accomplished in the next year.
Certainly, I know it's a tough task when you're trying to itemize all these accommodations and these amounts. And Women's Resource Center is a great organization that affects all the communities and is an outreach for many that has an impact with what they do. When I was at the recovery ceremony today, that issue came up. It's a great opportunity Bristol has with this recovery center, but it was mentioned going forward, the funding mechanism has to be thought about.
Absolutely.
So on that same token of how you're allotted, just be mindful going forward that how we pick and choose, that just keep that in the back of your mind because we want to see it very successful for what they do as well. So.
And I just want to make a note on that we are very excited. So they did retool the program a little bit this year. So there's a lot more projects that are eligible, especially the public facility improvements. So the 3 projects we have listed here. Yep. We did reach out to a lot of the local nonprofits here in the area. And so the ones that aren't here include affordable housing. So we are having, I believe, 4 applications are going to be submitted through the town to the state on that, in addition to the Women's Resource Center. So, I'm excited to see where the program can go. And, yeah.
So for the public, just a quick breakdown. There's the first 3 on here for the town for CDBG fund application, which includes Wally School, Bayview Ave, Streetscapes area, which is sidewalks, not just sidewalks, but includes sidewalks, town common improvements, and as Councilman Stewart mentioned, the Women's Resource Center was the last of them. We've had a lot of success, and that is not by chance. So luck is where opportunity meets prepared, and we've done an excellent job with this, and I'm assuming that this will continue unabated. So, and these are very appropriate ways and reasons to ask for these funds too.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the CDBG application.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next Items are the several bids that we opened today. The first is bid 879 for on-call electrical services. We received 2 bids, one from Vans Electric of Bristol in the amount of $65 an hour, and the second from E.W. Audette and Sons of Providence in the amount of $89 an hour. The next one is for on-call plumbing services. We received 1 bid from Eric Nunes P&I at $125 an hour. And we have J3, which is 881 painting services for Byfield and Reynolds School, and we did receive a bid from Scholar Painting LLC of Seymour, Connecticut, Byfield School, $54,320, in Reynolds School, $68,130. If the council wants to react to those, because the next one's a little different.
No, we didn't get a lot of bids on any of these.
Not many. Lots of, I mean, we're using our online bidding service.
So did a lot of people look at it and just opted not, or can't you tell?
To tell you the truth, I didn't look at the amount of interest that there was, but I think you know how that works, is that if somebody has expressed interest in one thing or another, then bids that fall into those categories would automatically go to them for their review. So that it's getting a lot of exposure. I think part of the problem is that there's just not people interested in bidding. And,
Mr. Clerk,
we do have people that were.
Were you looking for a motion stopping at bid 881 for now?
Well, yes, because the next one there's no bid, so your motion's going to be different. So if you want to handle 1, 2, and 3 the same.
Because even with, say, bid 881, I know there's just 1 bid. So I'll make a motion to refer this for the best interest of the town to the town administrator's office of bid 879, 880, 881, and the ones, Mr. Administrator, that if there is just 1 bid and you feel a need to come back to the council because you're just not, comfortable that we have to re-advertise, please do so, part of the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Bid J4 was for masonry repairs for Byfield School. We received no bids.
So you can go on
So
the
the
open
motion
market, is
can
that?
be to go on the open market.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go to the open market. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And bid J5, which is for the boiler replacement at Reynolds School, we had 2 bids received. The first was from Atlantic Power Services of Seekonk, Massachusetts, in the amount of $38,843, and the second was from Automatic Temperature Controls of Cranston, Rhode Island, in the amount of $39,126.
Motion to refer to the best interest of the town to the town administrator's office for bid 883 and 884 with the same conditions if he needs to re-advertise to do so.
Second.
Wait, we didn't cover 880. Did we say 884?
No,
out loud?
I was
We didn't
just
get
going to
the,
take that one differently.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard you do 2.
No, there were 2 bidders.
Oh, you did the 2
bidders,
bids.
yeah.
All right.
So just 880.
My apologies. Yeah. So just 883.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And finally, bid 884, which is item J6. That was for the copper downspouts of Byfield and Reynolds Schools. You have a bid received from James P. Tavares Construction Incorporated of Bristol, $12,200 for the Byfield School and $17,900 for the Reynolds School.
Make a motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay. The next is another request for executive session, and we're now to the individual council member agenda items, beginning with Chairman Kaluro.
So just really 1 or 2 quick things. Opening day was on Saturday, which is for me, it's the official day of spring. And we had a beautiful day out here today. It was a beautiful day on Saturday morning. Wonderful to see all the kids out there with their bats and their helmets, and was where I wanted to stop for a moment. King Philip is looking for more volunteers. So if you're interested in being a coach, if you're interested in working the concession stand, if you're interested in helping out in any way, shape, or form, reach out to King Philip. A shout out to our recreation department. The fields looked wonderful, and I know that you control that, and I know that we've got some good people on that, and it really looked wonderful. So it was also Earth Day on Saturday, which I understand went really well. I've gone to the last few with my family. This one I couldn't because of, we just mentioned opening day and other things going on. What I would ask is, and actually, Chris, I'm going to ask you on this one, if we can make sure that our calendar, there's no fault in anybody, if we can make sure our calendar is including these events, so when people are, for example, opening days being scheduled and Earth Day and all of that, so people know, because honestly, I would have loved to have gone or spent more time with Earth Day and still be at the King Philip. So if we can make sure that our community calendar is easily accessible.
So I did work with Chelsea. It was on there. I know that there's been a couple of website updates as that was happening, so I'll make sure that going forward that...
Well, just as...
Yeah.
So it's an easy reference, so if you're considering doing an event in town, whether it's this or anything else, that you can kind of keep that in mind and maybe work accordingly so you can get the best attendance possible. Besides that, that's all I have. Have a great night.
Mr. Sweeney.
We all have stuff to be thankful for, but I think what ranks at the top is your mom. So I just want to wish all the mothers out there in Bristol, and especially my mother, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for your sacrifices that you've made for our families, and I don't know what we'd do without you, that's for sure. And a special congratulations to Arthur Souser. For those who don't know him, he's a 99-year-old man,
yeah.
And he's the longest surviving fireman, right? Active fireman, and still lives independently. And still gets up every morning and does his thing. It's pretty amazing. So he's pretty incredible. So you probably saw the Phoenix. It's a wonderful honor to have him in town. And to the Bristol Blooms, I'm looking forward to seeing the town get ready for Bristol the summer and spring. I know the flower pots get adorning the town and really bring a special charm to it. So with that, you have a good night and take care.
Mr. Tiska.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Perrella.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to just wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, everyone here, all the mothers that are watching, and my mother, and all of the grandmothers, aunts, everyone else. That'll be happening a week from Sunday. Also, congratulations on the first communion season and confirmation season, and then graduation season for the colleges, too. So for all the kids who are graduating, and to Roger Williams students will be graduating, I believe, the 19th, including my nephew Gregory. So congratulations to all of them. That's it.
Mr. Stewart.
So now that we had a beautiful day out there today, and I think the thaw is over, I know I have been getting many, many calls. I know the administrator has, and I know the director has, about the potholes in the town of Bristol. And we are very well aware of them. We're not alone throughout the state. We're not the only town that has them. But we are trying to keep up as quick as possible. And it has been discussed about, the concern of the road program. Where can we see? Where is our street? A lot of questions of if there is a comprehensive foresightful plan, how do we have access to it? And I had stated many times here at this meeting that it is a set plan every year, and next year we already have a preliminary plan for the next roads because it's very involved. But there also could be emergency factors that change according with this council, and what we appropriate for budget, $1 million a year, is not a lot of money when you have to do so many roads in Bristol. So we try to keep up with the potholes. Like Kevin mentioned, going and get it every year with the new asphalt reclaimer. What is that? That's what holds the asphalt to do the potholes. They're trying to keep up with 5 tons every day, but by the time they commute to Providence, especially with the lovely 195 intersect of what they're doing with construction, it does take some time. I'm not making excuses. I'm asking for some understanding and patience that we're trying to address it with a monetary constraints with our budget. Even with this modest tax increase, we would like to do more, and we will be certainly doing it. I will have conversations of maybe in a simplified way, if people are interested in the plan going forward to have access, we can have those conversations, just for transparency, why they're asking. With that said, today was a great day in Bristol, here at St. Michael's Hall for the Recovery Center through the Health Equity Zone. It was attended very, very well, and I was just happy to see the attendance, because what really matters is this is just the first step to give that open door for people that need to take their first step and know that they don't have to have any fear, knowing that we as a community care, we as a community in the state care for the people that need any resource, what they're going through, whether it be opioid, or any other issue within family households, that this is much needed in today's society. We know it's needed. I don't think it's talked about enough, because it's a tough topic. And when there's tough topics, people try to not talk about it. I think we do need to address it, because we're facing it as a nation, and here in the state of Rhode Island and the town of Bristol, I'm glad we're approaching it this way and making the accommodations for these people and helping them. The Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, Diane, I know there's some stormwater funds that Bristol was noted for, so that's good to see for that, so we can address those issues. And happy Mother's Day to all, and hopefully this weather stays. Everyone be safe. Everyone who came out tonight, everyone tuning in at home, thank you, Archie Mons, Mike Davis, and everybody have a good night.
Town Administrator, agenda items.
Thank you. We had a very inspiring week, and the presentation by the university students was also inspiring. Some good news, some of the points that were brought up in that study. The wayfinding contractor was selected for direction towards our parking lots, and the seasonal parking lot, with May 1st to June 31st on Thames Street, that was opened up this week. Some other things that happened this week, we had our environmental club at Mount Hope High School. They were awarded a citation from the Rhode Island Tree Foundation. They planted 10 new trees on the high school property, so that was a nice event. Senior Center, we stopped there today. Councilman Stewart and Councilman Tisco were there. The governor was there today. Benjamin Church Senior Center. A very happy environment. Looks like they're doing really well, and it was really great to see. Ferry Road, we're not done with construction there, and I just want the public to know there's a combined effort now. The second phase of the construction on Ferry Road is between the town of Bristol and the Water Authority. We're going to work on a drainage program to reduce the amount of times that the wastewater treatment facility gets flooded. So at the same time, we'll do that, and a new water main, a sewer main on Fairview Avenue, and this is all going to be bid together so that it'll be less disruptive to the motorists in the neighborhood. So we're hoping to wrap that up towards the end of the construction season this year. And I think the public just needs to hopefully will bear with us a little bit longer. And in spring, we'll be paving curb to curb after winter settlement. So that's the plan, and we're going to try to get the word out and the message and hope for some understanding. In the end, we'll have a new water main, a new sewer main, and some new drainage in the area, so we'll be in good shape. This Saturday, we're going to do our tour at the wastewater facility, open to the public. We have an opening for 10 or 12 residents. Anyone interested, please call Carol Mello in the administrator's office, and if it's successful, we'll run it again. So it's this Saturday, 9 a.m. Very interesting. It should take about an hour. Wear your gardening clothes or your work clothes. But it is, I think it's important that we start showing the public what we actually do and where your wastewater goes. It's real critical, and it's actually a pretty involved process. There's a meeting tomorrow with our Director of Public Works, our Police Chief, with DOT, and some of the contractors that worked up on Medicum Avenue. It is a state road, but we're trying to push so that they move along with some repairs with the condition of Medicum Avenue right now isn't up to par, and that's how we feel on a municipal level, so we're going to be expressing that to DOT tomorrow. Other than that, I'd just like to say Happy Mother's Day to the moms here and at home, to my wife, to my mother, who's probably watching at home.
Hi, Mom.
And that's all I have. Good night. Thank you.
Motion would be to convene into executive session pursuant to 42465A5 with regard to lease of real property, both the State Street parking lot and the Gooding Avenue property.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.